There was some high flying and some planned takeoff and low flying in the second round of the Global Touring Car Series 2019 at the Extreme Festival at Zwartkops Raceway just west of Pretoria, as the championship headed to Gauteng for the first time since the grand finale last year. Hello everyone, I'm Arnold Getz. Round 2 was billed as the battle between leading manufacturers Audi and Volkswagen, because the opening round of the season at the Gazoo Raceway in Port Shepstone saw the respective GTC and GTC2 champions Terry Moss Racing, Audi Sport and Volkswagen Motorsport dominate. However, at Zwartkops Raceway, racing upsets are to be expected. In fact, you can bank on it. In KZN, Simon Moss took a double race win, putting him on top of the championship pops, while second and third was also taken by the Volkswagen Motorsport duo of Keegan Masters and Daniel Rowe. The PE-based outfit's form in testing at the exacting Zwartkops Raceway had the men from the Eastern Cape in a confident mood. Race director Gary Formato says the Northern Gauteng circuit is a very different proposition.
Yeah, I think so. Gazoo was a different race for us. Coming from what we've had for the last couple of years, there was definitely some change, but there was some positive change as well. So new manufacturers coming in, some new drivers coming into the series, and I think today we're going to start seeing some of them now coming to the fore. They've got used to the cars. Remember, a lot of these guys have driven them for 3 years, so they're not easy cars to drive on the limit. So today I think that gap is going to close up. So I'm excited, and hopefully we'll have some good news in the near future as well.
Formato, a man who knows this format through and through as a former race driver himself, ready for action, and so were the gladiators. The all-important official qualifying, and at Zwartkops, it's vital that you get as far up the grid as possible. First up though, it was the GTC2s, South Africa's premier circuit racing formula, the Global Touring Car Series, or GTC for short, and all the major manufacturers turned out with their still brand spanking new 2019 livery to stake a claim for the national title. Unlike their rivals, the Audi Sport PE squad, which was displaying a new all-power livery on both cars, was the only team that had not earmarked the Zwartkops Raceway as a testing circuit. That in itself gave the rest of the field an opportunity to reap the benefits of some hard graft to close the gap on Moss and company during the 5-week break between rounds 1 and 2. In the qualifying, it was intense, as it always is. The Dunlop pole position up for grabs, but whatever the case was, Simon Moss again took the money and the money shot when he secured his second consecutive pole position in 2019 in his Audi. There was some fun to be had for the children, who had races of their own, and probably dreams of their own too when the big show comes to town. Whatever the case may have been, the serious stuff was about to change the decibels, air pressure and adrenaline levels very quickly at Zwartkops Raceway. The grid walk, which allows the public to mingle with their favourite drivers right there on the starting grid. And talking starting grid, the Audis provided a spectacular sight in their trademark black and canary yellow. The rest of the teams provided a kaleidoscope of colours too, ready to tie one on and produce some scintillating racing. Another championship debutant, Daniel Duminy in the SMD Exotics car, getting ready, and good to see Mandla Mdekani in his Mini Cooper, also ready to rock. So much for burning rubber. Nonetheless, Moss it was who had 0.04 of a second to spare over Robert Volk. Chop Sapuka with 19-year-old sensation Dan Rowe right next to him. And continuing with the grid, another youngster, Keegan Masters, with privateer and veteran Johan Fourie in 6th. Mike van Rooyen and Dan Duminy would battle it out from the back of the GTC grid, while Liebenberg and Thompson would be leading off for the 2s. They would be just ahead of Trevor Bland and Adrian Wood. And another VW pilot, Charles Smallberger and Mandla Mdekani in that lovely miniviz next on the starting lineup. With the lead car out on the U-shaped circuit, which measures 2.4 kilometers or exactly a mile and a half, the racing was about to get underway with a rolling start 12 laps up ahead. Races are not less than 40 k's in length, and starting positions for race 1 of 2 across both classes determined by fastest qualifying lap times. The tension palpable as they wait for the red light to extinguish. Simon Moss controlling everything from pole position as they roll up to the start. Look for it to go, and it's off and racing. 15 cars in 2 categories, and immediately some serious jostling in the midfield for better positions. While up front, Simon Moss certainly did not let his surname grow under him. He was off and away, a good start as he did at the first meet of the year at the Gazoo Raceway. Further back, it was a gaggle of cars, all still looking for the right line early on, with Michael van Rooyen in that red and white Gazoo racing Toyota Corolla of his firmly ensconced in 5th place. The GTC2s, all 6 of them, were behaving well, at least for now, with Bradley Liebenberg predictably leading them as he did in KZN 5 weeks before. Moss, who's got that Audi set up well again, despite the fact that the team did not do a heck of a lot of testing here at Zwartkops, and already the pressure telling as the men behind were starting to lose sight of him and turning their concentration to holding off each other. Some cement on the surface to dry up earlier oil spill also didn't make matters any easier whatsoever. Moss, followed by Rowe in the Jetta, the Beamer of Robert WOLK and the distinctive Chemical Logistics blue and white right on his tail, and then the second Jetta with 19-year-old Keegan Masters aboard. The first lap flashes by, Chop Sapuka probably the biggest loser there, but making a welcome return to racing after finding his feet at the first calling of the year, clocking a solid 1 minute and 10 seconds, but up front Moss was leading by a second already. In the GTC 2s, Liebenberg's first lap in the Golf was worth a 2-second gap over the chasers. WOLK was doing some serious tailgating while Mandla Mdekani had the Mini Cooper pointed in the right direction and was flying along as well. Sapuka in that all-power Audi, it's got quite a nice ring to it, doesn't it? 7th on the championship log and going along at a healthy clip, and back with the Terry Moss outfit where his groundbreaking racing started all those years ago. The old man Terry's offspring, however, was proving that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and he was going hell for leather in the first spot. Rowe was producing a scintillating second lap, closing the gap slightly to the front, but not enough to put pressure on. Lee Thompson in that nifty-looking Ford ST in the Dalman Mining and Civils colours improved his second lap by almost 4 seconds and was moving up in the 2s. WOLK still desperately looking for a way past Rowe. The 32-year-old has been racing since the age of 9, winning 9 single-seater championships in Formula Ford and Formula Volkswagen. Downhill in the sweep, down to turn, and Moss's flat speed left them for dead there every time, with the front 3 having gotten themselves some breathing space from the pack. They in turn were now led by Masters, who was learning with every turn of the wheel. In the 2s, it was Liebenberg who clinched both races at the Gazoo Raceway for openers, but in car now with Michael van Rooyen and the Toyota Gazoo Racing. Ditto for Moss though, who was burning rubber in the 104-105 region all the time, and his consistency was starting to pay off. Moss produced a perfect start to his 2019 GTC season in Port Shepstone and was also looking to go 3 for 3. Frustratingly for WOLK, he could not get the hole he was looking for to get by Rowe, and while these two were busy occupying each other, that left Moss a nice clean run up ahead. The GTC 2s in Johannesburg's Brad Liebenberg, a 5-time national karting champ, was having a ball in the lead, but he had his rearview mirrors full of Adrian Wood and Trevor Bland in their Golf, so no letting up there either. In fact, Bland was filling in for Paul Hill in the KLX Golf after Hill had rolled this car at the Gazoo Raceway. Thompson had found a way around Mdekani, whose race was about to end with what looked like mechanical trouble. Zwartkops was designed along the latest trend in world racing circuits in the early 2000s on the American amphitheater concept, where at least 70% of the circuit is visible to all spectators. To top that, Gauteng is the heart of motorsport in South Africa. Some 76% of circuit racing license holders live in Gauteng. At national level, that figure is 80%, so the testing little drive is a great fillip for the sport since it was reopened. Johan Free in the EPS BMW, complaining that it was a little loose for him, was seeing very little though, except for Van Rooyen's exhaust pipe, and Johan was wanting to change the view quickly. The order: Moss, Rowe, WOLK, Masters, Sapuka, Van Rooyen and Fourie, and then a nice little gap to the rest. But as we slow it down, too wide on the drift and almost drama for Rowe, it was lost some serious traction there. Let's enjoy this together. Adrian Wood coming under pressure from Trevor Bland, and this was a classic overtaking maneuver. Neat, clean and incisive, but then Wood wanted to return the favour. This is good stuff to watch, and Charles Smallberger in his Golf GTI had the best seat in the house right behind them. In car again with Wood. Can he hold him off this time? We say it all the time, it's scintillating racing whatever you do. Adrian Wood was coming under serious pressure from Bland, and this was some hard work all the way through. Lap 8 and Dan Rowe, whose granddad raced Formula 1s in South Africa and his father was a regional racing champion, also proved that it's in the genes. But WOLK in his BMW was finally lining him up. The move had to be timed perfectly, and then into turn 5, WOLK made the move stick too, but there was more to come. Into the next turn, Rowe holding his line and WOLK holding his. Something has to give again. And here it is, a big faux pas as WOLK spins off and looking like that broke the suspension. This little altercation opened the door for Masters to come steaming past. No apparent team orders here. So now it would be the two jetters having a full crack at each other, and that also allowed Sapuka to perhaps cut in on the action right here. This battle wasn't over by a long shot. Back to the twos, there was a little bit of breathing space, but not much, as Liebenberg-Blandenwood was settled with Smallberger just a tad off the pace. But the same could not be said for Moss. He was setting it and doing it as well as ever, as he was now starting to catch the back markers, and that can get tricky at Zwartkops. The new canary yellow colours are historical because it was the same all-power emblem which was on the first Polo Cup car team principal Terry Moss purchased when he started the development racing with Chop Sapuka, and his son was racing to another win in it in its first outing. However, the only colour that the 27-year-old from PE was interested in was black and white, as Henry the Flag, as we know him, waved it for him as he won race 1 handsomely, consolidating his lead on laps 11 and 12. Rowe battled back to second ahead of his teammate Masters, while Chop Sapuka did his championship hopes no harm by filling fourth. In the twos, Liebenberg 2 made it 3 wins and 3 outings ahead of Trevor Bland's Golf. Adrian Wood's Seragolf was third on the podium. The war stories afterwards, though, are always great and entertaining. WOLK did not get underway well, and then there was that little dance.
Yes, unfortunately we didn't have the best start. Simon was lagging a bit on the start line. Daniel got up alongside me. I didn't want to jump the start, so that compromised my first corner. Dropped to third, and we had decent pace. The car was behaving well. I got past him about lap 7, and yeah, coming down to the last corner, I mean, I had the corner covered, and yeah, braked himself and hit my back right, or back left, sorry. It obviously damaged the suspension. I think it's broken because I tried to continue but couldn't, so just had to rotate around and bank the pole for the next race, but frustrating because it's not the first time it's happened, but looking forward to race 2.
There are always 3 sides to every story, and VW Motorsport's Daniel Rowe's take on the incident was also sobering.
Going into turn 5, I left the space on the inside for Robbie to go past. I tried to cut back to 6, but I didn't have the run. But after he had gone wide into 6, I had the run down to turn 8 into the last corner. And when I went up the inside, he started to squeeze me to the apex, so he didn't leave me a car with space. I tried to back out when he was coming across, but he came across way too quickly, so it's unfortunate.
The reverse grid start always delivers fireworks, and at Zwartkops that means superb racing. Who will clean up? We'll show you right after this. The second of the 8-race Global Touring Car Series was at the halfway mark at the Zwartkops Raceway just west of Pretoria, and for the first time since Super Touring Car races in South Africa in the 90s, South African racing enthusiasts were introduced to this globally relevant racing series in 2016, comprising a field of 2-litre turbo-powered racing cars, featuring a common chassis, running gear, a single ECU to control performance, control tyres, suspension and other components. The GTC Championship Series has created an appealing revival in local circuit racing. A scintillating mix of circuits, conditions, layouts and the like to test every team and every pilot to the max. The next stop on the calendar is Killarney in the Mother City, PE's Aldo Scribanti, then August's SA Festival of Motoring at the Kyalami Grand Prix circuit, and the series finishes off with an additional visit to Cape Town, followed by the finale in late October at the Red Star Raceway in Dalmas. But there was still the little matter of race 2 at Zwartkops. Simon Moss was dominant, but the reverse order start demands a very different skill set indeed. This time we asked Johan Fourie if we could ride along in the EPS Courier's Beamer, and he said okay, but only if we keep quiet. See, we told you we could, Johan. Coming up to the rolling start of race 2. Robert Volk with that repaired BMW suspension right at the front, he would be tough to hold off from there. Coming up now, the sprint down to the straight and into turn 1. Volk just ahead of Daniel Duminy and Moss caught right in the middle of all of that. This turnaround start certainly does make it interesting, doesn't it? Not that Moss, Masters Row and Seppuku would have agreed with that right now. It was so congested, that looked like Joburg traffic during a power outage. Nowhere to go, not enough tarmac. Masters even had to take evasive action and do a bit of ploughing. And watch the top right-hand side of your screen here. Volk makes a beeline back for the black stuff and collects Moss, which has both left wheels off the tarmac. Let's join Chop Seppuku in car, who wisely avoided all the fisticuffs in turn 3. Smoke and locking up the brakes in that beam of Duminy screaming in anguish, with Fourie all over him and Van Rooyen all over him in turn, and the wily old veteran having to do everything that he can, side mirror to side mirror stuff, as these drivers just did not want to give an inch or even a centimetre. Then Rowe got a little tangled and started a slow 1-2, which Moss had time to berate before he skillfully avoided the full 360. But that gave Seppuku and company the chance to move on by. Don't think Simon enjoyed that, eh? Nah, not really. Fourie trying to make amends for race 1, with Dan Duminy just losing a little touch. Then Van Rooyen, the Rustenburg-based driver, and his Corolla, chased by Seppuku, displaying his affection for the Pretoria track. Moss still flying along, and then the next moment, a massive off for the 27-year-old. That is very interesting. What the heck went down there? Difficult to tell. However, it did look like he was battling to make the car behave and turn when he wanted it to. And it looks like we're in for a complete restart. The red flags come out on lap 2 to call a halt to proceedings then. And if we go back, let's just see how Moss got the initial damage to his Audi as the cars line up for that restart. Top right-hand side of your screen, there is where the left wheels leave the track. The in-car camera tells you that Moss had absolutely nowhere to go, and you must admire the skill with which Moss avoided some serious damage being done early on. Then, at the top of turn 6, Moss again getting involved with Dan Rowe, and that no doubt caused more damage to the front end of his all-power Audi. Seppuku, very skillful in staying out of all that entanglement. You've got to admire that too. But the Jetta could not do the same, as Rowe left quite a lot of bodywork all over the Zwartkops Raceway. And that definitely eliminated the VW man from the pending restart. So while number 89 takes an early break, here's what happened to Moss. Finally, that prang, which meant a whole lot of tyres and some new Armco, would be required soon. In car with Johan Fourie, the full restart with less than 10 laps to go. Still Volk, and then Duminy, then Fourie and Van Rooyen in the Toyota Gazoo Corolla, Seppuku, and then Masters in the Jetta. A depleted field, and that would leave some space for the GTC 2s to do their thing too. As the lights drop, a man scramble for the first corner, and guess who comes out first on the other side but Volk, who had all that experience to fall back on. But then so does Fourie, Seppuku and Van Rooyen too. What the restart meant was that Moss was out. Rowe was watching from the pits, and the field was all bunched up again. Question was, who would be able to take advantage? Remarkably, the twos were all well behaved and were all still running. That meant that something would surely be happening back there too. In car with Masters, watch the cornering and the use of the car's weight to take it through smoothly. And then drama at the front as Volk slows dramatically, and Fourie spots it and says, "Hello, thank you very much and see ya later." Van Rooyen, Seppuku, Masters and Duminy also did not need a second invitation to go by. Volk with some damage, broken something somewhere again as he pulls into the pits. Not a happy day for the man who hails from East London. And then there was 5, but this is a position and a place that Fourie loves. Zwartkops and in front as the two-time SA Drivers' Champion took control at the head of affairs. Van Rooyen almost immediately lost touch as Fourie applied pedal to the metal. In the twos, Kyocera Golf with Adrian Wood at the wheel was throwing caution to the wind and was pressing as hard as he could, with Bland saying, "Anything you can do, I can do better." Well, only time would tell. Actually, make that lap time. Liebenberg, on his debut for Volkswagen Motorsport in 2019, was doing a sterling job up front and was now gunning for his 4th go-to-woe win in a row. Meanwhile, Fourie was controlling things up front and doing it well. Just look at Master screaming up the inside of Chop Sapuka, and even with all his experience, the Jenta's timing and power was too much as the young man from Hartbeespoort, just up the road from here, nails it down. Dumini then tried to get past the veteran Sapuka as well, when NJ Racing had no less than 12 pole positions and 14 podium finishes out of 20 races, a record at the time. Talking veterans, when Fourie gets his nose in front, he's one tough nut to crack, and no one was getting close enough to get the nutcracker out either. Sapuka eventually did give best to Dumini, but surely this would only be temporary, as he's one of those characters that just does not give up. He knew it, Dumini knew it, and so did the crowd. They were watching with great interest. But make no mistake, Dumini, known to his mates as Hollywood due to his blogs and vlogs, is already at the tender age of 20, an experienced racer. After all, last year he was chosen from 120 drivers worldwide to race in Germany. Let's watch Sapuka here. Can he find a way past? As Chops lined it up, Van Rooyen just lacked a little bit of pace to get up to Fourie's back bumper. And then back to the man from the Transkei struggles to pass young Dumini. This time, would he truly outbreak him? He does, but can he hold on? Now Dumini was the chaser again. Superb racing from young and old, and for young and old. So, Kenwood is turn 6, on the way now to turn 7, that's the little kink. The final turn, turn 8, it's known as G&H Transport Corner. Who's going to transport past who here? Dumini and Sapuka tying one on, the crowd loving it. Liebenberg in the lead in the Blue Golf, sporting number 12, a place where quite clearly in the last 4 races he's felt right at home with just enough of a lead over 80 Wood to breathe relatively easily, but not enough to ever relax. Trevor Bland in a solid 3rd, while Lee Thompson in the Ford was putting together his best drive of the day in 4th, looking like he was enjoying the experience. Lee Thompson has the reputation as one of South Africa's fastest front-wheel drive pilots, and this is certainly the quickest that the little Ford Focus ST has gone around Zwartkops in a while. Fourie was putting the ribbon and wrapping on his race with the first win of the 2019 GTC season as he caught up to Bob Neal in the 2nd Ford Focus at the back of the field, and then Fourie let it all hang out. A happy Johan Fourie hunting for a 12th national championship title piloted his beautifully turned out EPS Courier Services BMW to a very popular win at the Zwartkops Raceway with an emphatic victory.
Yeah, we made some small changes between the races. The car was a little bit too loose for me. And then since the first lap I could just feel the car was hooking up. We managed to get a good start on the first regional start, and by the end of lap 1 we were leading. So then as a red flag came out, I didn't know exactly what happened, but we went back to normal grid positions, complete restart, and I was back in my normal position, and by the end of lap 1 I was leading again. So I knew, yes, the car was good, and turn 1 and turn 4 and the high speed stuff, I didn't move the back. Up at the tabletop, the traction was very good, and I just managed to pull a gap, eke out a little bit, and luckily I saved my push to pass. I didn't use any on the first restart, so from the 2nd lap I just used push to pass right till the end, so managed to open the gap and was comfortably. I'm very happy. We only did 10 laps this year, so now we can start testing, so it's going to be a different ball game in Cape Town. Ooh la la.
Ooh la la indeed, as the next race is on Johan's doorstep, a rich haul of points for the man from the Cape, and Van Rooyen would have done his championship hopes a heap of good, while Brad Liebenberg and the GTC 2s gave himself 4 from 4. Moss was a little disappointed.
The start was quite hectic. I went on the between 2 cars coming out of turn 2. I think Robbie went off, and I don't know if he didn't see me. He turned or came in across on me, and I'm in the middle of a sandwich, and then that caused me to launch in the air. I landed it, and then from there on went in. Everything was fine. I had a lot of front end grip as we expected. We've had all weekend. Going into turn 4, overtook Chops, and then going into turn 5, one of the Volkswagen was trying to go around the outside of the Toyota, and he stayed on the outside, and I went up on the inside, followed the Toyota as the VW was wide, and then the next thing he just turned across, hit my front end, and obviously damaged the front of my car. Then going down to turn 1, about 2 corners later, I turned, and then all of a sudden it just felt like I was on ice. Where the car normally carries on left, it just had a little bit of a lot of understeer, straight onto the grass, and bam, into the tyres. So it's a great pity, as we have a lot of pace in the second race. We've done a lot of testing, and we know we would have had the pace to win the reverse grid. We didn't, and we'll take it to the next one.
the championship after second round, and Simon Moss right at the top there with a 3-point gap over Keegan Masters and Daniel Rowe, another 4 points adrift. A good performance too from Fourie, who slots into 5th. And after round 2 for the GTC 2's Brad Liebenberg with a 15-point lead over Adrian Wood, Bob Neal, Charles Smallberger and Trevor Bland 3rd, 4th and 5th respectively. It's not often that someone has a 4 for 4 after the first 2 rounds of a championship, but Liebenberg does.
Well, obviously winning race 1, it's reverse grid for race 2, so coming from the back wasn't the easiest thing. There's a lot of carnage that happens up front at GTC 1, and especially in that race there was a lot of body panels and that lying along the track after lap 1, and just trying to maneuver around that, but at the same time racing wheel to wheel with the other competitors in GTC 2, it's not the most fun, you could say that. But I managed to get past everybody and then got past my teammate Adrian, and then just put my head down, try to build up a gap and then maintain it for the rest of the race, and we came out on top again, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. Just want to say thank you to VW Motorsport for the opportunity and for the brilliant car that they put together, and look forward to the next race.
Round 3 of the GTC Championship will be the first of 2 visits this season to the Killarney International Raceway in Cape Town on May the 10th and 11th. Join us then for some more low-flying action. I'm Arnold Gert saying thanks for watching.